This was the exact protocol that was seen during the anti-CAA protests last year, and it is the exact same thing which we got to see again, unfortunately, at the horrendous scenes at Red Fort on our Republic Day. Namaste to all of you all, I'm Anvi. Thank you so much once again for being with me here on my channel. Before we begin with today's episode, the usual request, please do subscribe to my channel, please do comment on my videos and like my videos. It'll help me to reach more people and to share my views with more people and to interact with more people. And of course, it will definitely help my channel. Coming to the farmers' protests, you all know that it took a culmination of sorts at Red Fort on Republic Day. You all have seen the horrendous violence that took place, the attack on the police, and of course the desecration of the Red Fort itself, the unforgivable desecration of the Red Fort itself. Now, if there is one thing that has become obvious, especially during this farmers' protests and what has happened recently, if there is one lesson that we can learn from it, is that the facade of the left and how the left nexus works is completely off. Their mask is completely off, and honestly, if you look at it in depth, you realize that the Indian left does not have too much of its own depth or its intellect. Let's see how. So the opposition began with fueling unnecessary fear and unnecessary angst against the farm bills, which it's available on the internet. Any sane person can read it. Any sane person can understand how crucial they are and how important they are to our current situation, to our current economy, and to the farmers' lives in general. And so everybody can read it and understand. But there was so much of opposition and so much of hatred fueled against it unnecessarily, just to gain political points. And that is exactly what has backfired. Now, how do you know that this was done just to gain political points? Because the very same people who are opposing the farm bills now, you can look back at their tweets and their previous articles or whatever it is and realize that they are the very same people who supported the farm bills, who were asking for the farm bills to be implemented, and who were making promises that they would implement it if they were in power. Now, this is why they say that opposition for the sake of opposition completely falls flat on its face, because there is absolutely no competition. It is not an opposition which is based on a very strong opposing viewpoint or anything like that. It is opposition for the sake of opposition. It is fueled by hatred. It is based on hatred, and it is merely done for the sake of pulling down the Modi government. Now, there are 2-3 things which happened during the farmers' protests in the past few days, which proves beyond doubt that the left, as I said, does not function on a very strong foundation of their own ideals or their viewpoints. They basically function on whatever is convenient for them to get power and to uphold their own views and to shove them down the throat of everyone else, no matter what the cost is. Now, if you remember the anti-CAA protests, the anti-Hindu protests last year, the police were taken to task for trying to control the mob. Whereas here, during the farmers' protests, I remember seeing a couple of tweets which rebuked the very same police for not taking action. Now, coming to the farmers' protest, of course, there were genuine farmers with genuine concerns, and that is definitely justifiable. But also, it is no secret anymore, or even from the beginning, to be honest, that there were vested interests which piggybacked on the farmers' protests to fulfill their own agenda. One is, of course, the Khalistani movement. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the Khalistani outfit Sikhs for Justice had announced a reward of 2.5 lakh US dollars for anyone who would hoist a Khalistani flag on Red Fort on Republic Day. And this was done. To talk a little bit about the hoisting of the flag situation, we're not going to get into the details of whether it was a Khalistani flag or whether it was of the Nishan Sahib. It's meaningless because that debate does not hold any ground, because it doesn't matter what flag it was, it is non-negotiable that any other flag apart from the Indian flag is not supposed to be on the Red Fort. Period. So no further discussion and no further debate would justify any of the actions that happened there on that day. Now coming to the Red Fort itself. Now Delhi is the capital of the country, and as I said, any other flag apart from the Indian flag, no matter what religious or territorial connotation it might hold, is an utter disgrace. So hijacking the Red Fort is a symbolic form of taking over the country. It is a very symbolic image, it is a very symbolic action, and of course Khalistan is definitely there, but the other open secret is that Pakistan also has its eyes on the breaking down of India. And it is said that, this is something that I've read somewhere, and it is said that after Ghazwa-e-Hind, the flag of Pakistan will unfurl at the Red Fort. Now this is something that I have read, please correct me if I am wrong. Now coming back to the main theme of the episode, which is the working of the Indian left, the shallow foundation that they are based on and the shallow actions that follow from there. We spoke about how the very group that was supporting the farm laws, the farm bills before, now backtracked because it was brought by the Modi government. Now, the other example, the other obvious example is what happened with the actor Deep Sidhu. Now, if you all remember at the beginning of the protests about 1 or 2 months back, he was hailed as a farmer's voice. He was hailed as a hero for speaking up for the farmers. And now, after what happened at the Red Fort and after the danger of the left falling flat on its face, they have completely cut off their ties with him, and now he's being projected as a stooge of BJP. It's just amusing how the left does this so shameless. Of course, there are photos of him with Modi and Sunny Deol, who himself ran on a BJP ticket. But if you look at his own interview with Barkhadat, which again was done during the farmers' protests, he had clearly stated that he had nothing to do with the BJP and that he had gone to meet them for the sake of meeting, and he was just supporting Sunny Deol at that time, and that because the BJP was now upholding the farm bills, he was completely against them, and also he can be seen very vocally supporting Bhindranwale. Now this makes me wonder, is this all the depth there is to the leftist argument? It's do as we tell you to do as we order you to do, and don't complain if we first use you and then throw you under the bus as we wish, so long as our agenda of having the upper hand, of having the more superior power is fulfilled. Now in this light, I really fail to see what exactly the left is standing up for. The leftists are supposed to be Democrats and liberals and seculars, but here, in the case of the Indian left, all you see them do is name calling, blaming the right, projecting onto the right every single fault, whether it is true or imagined, and projecting onto the right every single shortcoming. Now, of course, this is quite an advantage to the right, to BJP especially, because now they are the farmers themselves, the genuine farmers, around the areas where the protesters were squatting. And again, the protesters were not protesting in assigned areas. They were squatting around streets wherever they wished to, and if I am right, I think there was a loss of about 55,000 crores in business because of this protest and because of these protesters squatting around in random areas and blocking roads and streets. And now, as I said, farmers from the villages around these areas have themselves stood up against these protesters, and some of them have ordered them to vacate the area, to evacuate from the space as soon as possible. So that is one good thing that's happening. And the police is also, of course, on its feet now, and they're actively looking for and booking people who were involved in these protests and who instigated unnecessary violence, unnecessary angst, and unnecessary fear and disturbance, especially on a day like Republic Day. Now, if there is any good takeaway from the current protests and the current happenings in the past few days, it is that the Indian left is pretty shallow with their thinking and their actions. They're not going to hold out for too long if this is the way that they're going to carry forward, because the whole country is not blind. People are not stupid. People can see through. People have already seen through quite a lot. A lot of people are already awake and aware. So it's up to all the rest of us who need to really put their act together, who really need to stand up stronger, be more vocal, and be more I guess the left is pretty overpowering in its actions and even in its tweets, to be honest. It's quite putting off, after a point you don't really feel like interacting with them. It's I'm sure I'm not generalizing, it's not just the left wing, it's of course the right wing as well, which stoops down to writing horrendous tweets and responding in very offensive manners. So that was in no way a generalization, so I apologize. But all I'm saying is it is high time that the other part, the right wing, the rest of us, we came together, we stood together stronger, which is already happening, which is a good thing. And if anything, this particular incident has only strengthened the image of BJP in the eyes of the public, because it played out in such a way that their facade fell off. It's that time where we're all coming together to stand up for truth, for dignity, and for the respect of our nation. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of the entire episode and what you thought about the viewpoints that I have put forward. As always, until next time, take care.